Sorry, Bob Arum is saying that contracts and all this, that, and the other been sent to Eddie Hearn. They're trying to get, Fury AJ over the line. Where that may be, we don't know. When it'll be, we do not know yet. But at this stage, I'm starting to really believe that we'll see this fight this year. As I said, where and when, I don't know. Probably in Saudi Arabia, probably summertime, kind of May, June. But until we get the announcement, and as I always say, until we've seen both guys weigh in, we really never know. Because a fight can get announced, things can change, pullouts can happen, what fails, what can happen. A lot of things can happen, especially nowadays, right? So, as it stands now, it's looking quite good. Now, if this fight happens, right, if and when, question I have, Deontay Wilder, what is he going to do? Who is he going to fight? Now, let's remember, right, it's been nearly a year. I think it's been 11 months. Nearly a year since Fury and Wilder had that rematch, right? We knew both guys signed on for a trilogy, right? That didn't come to fruition, right? Wilder was as quiet as a mouse. When he lost that fight, he didn't say anything. He was quiet as a mouse, right? Now, we've heard Shelley Finkel say that, we're going through courts of arbitration and this, that, and the other. Right, that's all well and good. But if we get Fury Joshua next, your boy's waiting. And Eddie Hearn has said it could actually take Wilder, I think he said up to 2 years to get a title shot, unless he's mandatory. So unless we potentially see, him fight the winner, I should say, of White Pavek in the rematch, could be a while. And even then, we still have to wait for the mandatory to reset. So it could be a while before Wilder is in with a shot of a title. Now, some people have said that if he doesn't get the Fury trilogy fight, that they think he should retire. Me personally, I think he still has a lot to offer the sport of boxing. I've criticised Wilder a plenty on this channel, right? But for all the criticism, for all the things he said, I really enjoy watching Wilder fight. I think since he fought Stavern the first time, have I ever missed any of his fights? I think I missed the Ortiz rematch because I had no real interest in that fight. But other than that, I've watched every single one of his fights live. Apart from the Ortiz rematch, I didn't watch that live. I watched it the next day. But apart from that, I've seen every one of his fights live. Right? I always say, because I like watching Deontay Wilder fight. I think he's exciting. I think he's explosive. I love big punchers. I love watching Deontay Wilder fight in the ring. Right? Absolutely love watching him fight in the ring. Right? So I want to see him in the ring again. Now, we've heard the name Charles Martin get mentioned. Stylistically, I think that's a very good choice. Charles Martin is an improved fighter since he fought Anthony Joshua. I think Charles Martin's always been a decent heavyweight. I think the Anthony Joshua fight, I think he built himself up so highly to it, and I think the occasion did get to him to an extent. You can kind of tell that. I remember once he blamed it on his shorts being too tight. Okay, come on now. But I think Charles Martin's an improved fighter. I think he's shown, especially in the loss to Kalnacki, he's shown that he has a bit of heart, that he is a good fighter. He's not a world beater necessarily, but he's not a bad fighter. But I think against Deontay Wilder, he'd get absolutely iced quite early on. But that would be a decent kind of comeback fight for Deontay Wilder. I think as well as that, the winner of the Helenius-Kalnacki rematch would be a decent one. Because if it's Helenius, then, I think Wilder would be Helenius, straightforward enough. Kalnacki the same, but Kalnacki is, he's still a live opponent, definitely. So I think that there's room there for Deontay Wilder to come back and have some decent fights. And notice they're PBC guys, so they're easy to make. In terms of him, if he wanted to go the route of being named like a mandatory or something like that for a title, you would have to target the White Povetkin winner. Personally, I think it's going to be Dylan White, but you would have to target them as, a potential opponent. We've heard Eddie Hearn say that he'd be willing to do Deontay Wilder versus Dylan White if Dylan White gets Povetkin. Now, I've always felt that should Dylan White win this rematch with Povetkin, he will be named mandatory. Then that mandatory, you would imagine, wouldn't get called until some stage in the middle of next year, right? If Dylan White is in a position where he is mandatory challenger, where he does have a crack at the winner of AJ Fury, then I think we'll see a little bit more of a cautious approach from Dylan White. And what I mean by that is, whilst he was mandatory, he fought, apart from Mariusz Wach, which was a short, that was a 10 rounder anyway. Apart from that, he's fought Parker. He's fought Rivas. Who else has he fought? He's fought Povetkin the first time. He's fighting him again. He was taking tough fights whilst he was in a mandatory position. Okay? Now, that is good for us from a fan's point of view because we get to see him in competitive fights, but you run the risk of losing. If you go back and look at some of my old videos, even go back during like spring of last year when they were talking about Dana White versus Povetkin, he was talking about world title shots. I said in those videos that I didn't, at the time, I didn't necessarily think it'd be Povetkin, but I said I expected White to lose before he gets a title shot. And I think that if he's in a position where he gets a title shot again, or he's in line for a title shot, he'd be a lot more cautious with who he fights, rather than just go in there, like a bull in the china shop, thinking I want the toughest guy possible, or I want this guy. It might be, hang on a sec, I wanted my world title shot. Maybe instead of fighting him, I'll fight him. But against Wilder, I think he'd take that fight. I think he is determined to fight Deontay Wilder. And I think from Wilder's point of view, I think Dylan White is a reasonably straightforward fight for him. I'd be making Deontay Wilder heavy favourite in that fight, personally. Even before the Povetkin knockout, I'd make him heavy favourite. Deontay Wilder's one thing I worry about with him. Well, there's two things, actually. His frame of mind, because I personally don't think, I know he's not learned anything from the Fury loss. And I wonder how is he going to react when he gets back in the ring, even if it's against someone like a Charles Martin. How is he going to be from a mental point of view? Because he won't have been in the ring for, say, he fights Charles Martin this summer. It could have been 14, 15 months since he fought Fury. How is he going to be from a mental point of view? Is he going to be able to shake what happened in that rematch? Because it was a bad loss. He was dominated by Fury. He was. And second of all, this is a bit more kind of trivial. We got Wilder's 35. He'd be 36 this year. Now, let's say it is next year. Let's say he works his way into a mandatory position and it's next year some stage when he gets his title shot. If he'd be down at 37. Maybe he will be 37. I think right now Wilder is at a point where age may actually start to catch up on him. I know he's not had a punishing career, but his athleticism and his speed makes up for a lot of his lack of technique, we'll say. His timing. And I think the older he's getting, I think we will start now at this stage, because in the wrong side of 30, to see that diminish. So I think Wilder may be, we may be in the twilight of Deontay Wilder's career. So I said I'm going to leave it here. I want to let you guys know your thoughts. Maybe I'm leaving it a bit too soon, but I'll leave it there. What do you think will happen with Deontay Wilder moving forward? If he doesn't get this Tyson Fury trilogy fight, do you think the plan will be to have a couple of comeback fights and then go in there with someone at world level and try and get a mandatory shot, or try and get a voluntary shot off the back of that? I can't see a voluntary shot being given, to be fair. Or do you think that Wilder, he may have some fights in him, but at this stage, irrespective of what he does, whether he fights Joshua, whether he fights for wherever he fights, you think we're in the twilight of his career? The fact that he's 35 going on 36. Let me know your thoughts. Be interested to know what you guys think in the comment section. Lads, I'm calling it here. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, you could help your boy out, smash the like button. Alright, hashtag GMansRocks, all that good stuff. Lads, I'll talk to you. Peace.